Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Men Who Talk Through Movies. I'm your host, Just Jeb, and we're going to talk through another fantastic movie. And with me are a few other. Sorry, on the video aspect of this, I'm seeing Steven's reaction, who wasn't expecting that.
I asked him to do this. I can't believe it.
Yes, along with me are a few other gentlemen who like talking through movies almost as much as I do. My co-host Steven, say hello.
I hate this.
And with me is my favorite Australian, Josh. Also say hello.
G'day, mates. How are you?
And last but certainly not least is one of my favorite Narnia characters, Prince Caspian.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, it's really him.
It's me. I've arrived. I showed up. I came through the wardrobe personally.
So today we are going to be watching one of my personal favorites and childhood favorites, and probably my second favorite 2D animated movie, The Prince of Egypt. You can watch it on YouTube by renting it for only $3 or $4 if you want HD, or you can go ahead and just find it on Peacock. And for those watching on Peacock, we are starting at the 27-second mark because it decided to be weird and have a universal opening. So, without further ado, let's talk through a movie. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Ah, yes, the traditional DreamWorks opening.
Never asking Jeb to do anything again.
Yeah, the good one.
You asked me to do it, and I brought my own flair.
So I'm watching.
I loved it personally.
It is a DreamWorks open.
Yes, DreamWorks.
So that's right.
I hate to interrupt with all this starting talking, but I have to point out this right here, the motion picture you were about to see is an adaptive of the Exodus story. And any biblical story adapted, I've never seen this anymore. And I did research today with two current biblical stories, one being Noah from 2014 with Russell Crowe, and the other being Exodus, Gods and Kings with Christian Bale. Did not have that.
And an interesting thing about this too is it states verbatim at that bottom line that this story of Moses can be found in the book of Exodus.
Yeah.
You don't see that, the actual liturgical reference.
Yeah.
This was a second DreamWorks movie, right?
Correct, because their first one was Ants.
And they knocked it out of the park.
Oh, wow. Oh gosh.
This
I thought you were going to say they knocked it out of the park.
Sorry, not trumpet.
Like, what movie were you watching?
I didn't, because I knew.
I don't normally like Watch Mojo, but I watched a Watch Mojo that said top 10 best animated openings, and this one was number 1. So I'm like, Watch Mojo? Yeah, you
that's the
did
only
okay
good
for
content
once.
that they ever released, and they never
gained
released
some favor with me. Yep.
Oh heck, I forgot my notebook. It's okay. I left Jeb in charge.
Yeah, you did. Mud.
That trumpet opening, though, just hearing that, ooh, that's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
Like, we played this in band, and like, I love Dr. Tyndall so much that he let me be able to play like the chorus. Like, you know, the opening chorus and whatnot, and it was so good because it wasn't in my saxophone part. So he gave me the piece of music and was like, because I know you really want to, Jeb. Here you go. And I'm like, Doc, I love you.
That's awesome.
What a good man. A good man.
Yeah, Dr. Tyndall's the best.
My sweat on my brow. I love this movie. Like, we're not even 2 minutes in, and I'm already freaking out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for a 2D movie to have the level of cinematography and score composition for it, it's insane.
Yeah. I just love this movie. So growing up, this used to be one of my favorites, to which I had my own language whenever I was talking. I couldn't speak well until I was 4 years old, apparently. And anytime I wanted to tell my babysitter I wanted to watch this movie, I said, and I quote, I want to watch Et Dedas. No, Edda Edda. It was Edda Edda. I want to watch Edda Edda. Why was this Edda Edda when I was 3 years old?
Who knows?
Because apparently it was easier to say than Prince of Egypt.
Prince of
It's
Egypt,
fair.
yeah.
It's just one syllable repeated.
Yeah, there you go. I thought you were going to say when I was a kid, whenever I wanted to watch this, I would say, "Deliver us."
No, but now I might start doing that.
Yeah,
when I was 4, anytime I wanted to watch this, I'd just start playing the trumpet opening.
Okay, all right. That's a flex that nobody needed because now we all feel bad about ourselves.
It's okay. I still can't play trumpet because I'm a saxophone player myself.
Hey, saxophone is great
also unnecessary to add. Jokes. I'm super happy of all of your personal accomplishments.
This is the part where Josh starts pandering because he feels guilty.
Yeah. Yeah.
No need to pander, Josh. It's okay.
All right. Okay. Take my
Unless you
place.
really want to, I'm not going to say no to pandering.
Oh gosh.
There's not as much of an appreciation for hand-drawn, hand-painted backdrops and 2D panels in movies anymore. And this movie has so much of it that's so just stunningly gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, it never feels out of place either. You feel like you're in Egypt, and it's the work they did on this movie was just, they put way too much work into this movie for it to be just a DreamWorks movie.
Yeah. They didn't have to go this hard, and they were like,
No.
you know what? It's our second movie. We're not going to last. Bada bing, bada boom. They were like, oh.
Cut to 30 years later.
Come on, guys. We made ants. Obviously, this is going to be a short-lived thing.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
How do you go from ants to this?
You care.
Yeah, somebody cared.
Somebody cared.
And then they went from this to Shrek.
But then they had Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron in between those two. Or I don't know actually which one came first now that I think about it.
That I'm
You
not
gotta have a filler. You gotta have a filler.
Gotta have a filler. They did try a direct-to-DVD sequel of this, which was not a sequel. It was a prequel.
Oh yeah, the Joseph King of Dreams, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and is it on this same level? Of course not. But on its own right, it's still a good movie on its own.
Yeah, it is good. It's not as good as this one, but
No.
Yeah.
DreamWorks, that's hilarious. And then
I
they went
love
to
the
Shrek, another
cinematography in this
classic.
movie.
It's so good.
We're not even 5 minutes, and I'm
Yep.
freaking out.
Here's the thing. Okay, this right here, this is beautiful, right? And to bounce off of your point, Caspian, when they do this hand-drawn stuff, it's always better.
Yes.
Yep.
Like always,
Yep,
when they do
100%.
like even like a little bit of hand-drawn versus like completely CGI, the hand-drawn's always better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, that being said, this scene I can't take seriously. It's just too over the top. Do you guys hear the joke of the three guys who went golfing?
Mm-mm.
All right,
Nope.
so 3 guys go golfing, and the first guy steps up, and he hits it, drives it up into the air, and it lands right in the middle of the pond. Well, it turns out that this guy is Moses, and so he just walks over and he parts the pond in half, and then he goes and he puts the ball out of the pond. Second guy comes up, does the same thing, except this time the ball goes and it starts to hover over the pond. Guess what? It's Jesus. Jesus is playing with Moses. And so Jesus walks over to the pond, okay? And he just walks across the water and then puts it from the water onto the green. Okay? Now, that last scene, the Moses in the basket scene, makes me think of this part. Third guy walks up, hits the ball, and it goes to the same place, except the fish jumps out of the water, eats the ball, and then before the fish lands in the water again, an eagle flies out of nowhere, grabs the fish, the ball falls out of the sky, lands on top of a toad's head, who jumps up in the air, launching it far enough that it arcs up and falls into the hole, and Moses looks over at Jesus and says, "Do you have to bring your dad golfing?"
Oh, that's real.
Such a dumb joke.
Sorry, Steven. I was too
it's
busy
great,
watching
though.
the beauty of
There's
this movie to
so-
listen.
That joke has so much setup for just the smallest payoff.
There's another joke like that. And it's completely in opposite direction. And it's completely on the opposite end of the family-friendly scale, but it's called the Aristocats. Not Aristocats, the Aristocrats.
Oh,
Great
And
movie,
so what this
Aristocats.
Yeah.
what the joke is you start with 2 things, okay? You have a solid beginning and a solid ending. The beginning starts the same and the ending starts the same. Everything in the middle is improvised by the comedian. And so
Yeah,
it
great.
gives them a chance to make the absolute dirtiest and darkest humor ever in the world.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Gilbert Gottfried's is pretty bad.
Yeah, oof. I can imagine.
Oh man.
It's okay. We don't have to worry about offending him now.
Oi.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. Was that too soon?
Too soon, bro?
That was the man of too soon. He wouldn't
No,
care.
no,
He'd be like,
nothing.
That's
"Go
true.
ahead,
That's true.
make a joke
How
about
did
it."
he get? Okay, I'm calling BS. Moses, no way could maneuver himself to that ramp. Absolutely not.
Josh, I hate to be that guy,
Hey.
but there's no biblical evidence that say that he didn't. So how
Yeah.
do we know? How
And I
do
mean-
we
There's no
know?
biblical evidence of this race.
You're right.
Moses
so how do
is a
we
member
know?
of
I
the
mean-
children of God, so
Okay,
I mean,
guys,
you know.
you know what this scene. You know what this scene is. This is where this is basically a Bourne movie before a Bourne movie.
Yep.
At least these chase scenes are more, good.
Hey, don't you diss supremacy. I'll kick your
I
butt
mean,
over
the
supremacy.
Bourne supremacy.
All
Those
right,
are
all
some
right.
good.
Identity. I
Identity.
was thinking more of Identity.
I'll
though.
give you Identity. That is
Fair.
a horrible film.
I mean, that's just shaky cam for days, but you know.
Yeah.
I would do a shaky cam thing, but right now my camera is perched very perfectly, and if I touch it, it will fall.
Oh, and mess up his nose. There you go. Nice. You know how long it took to get that nose up there?
Hey,
Yeah,
come on.
for real.
This is medical history happening in front of our eyes. It's the world's first rhinoplasty.
Ah, but there's no rhinos involved.
There's no way. It's just...
Caspian, I know this is the movie that you picked, but I'm gonna boot you from this call.
I'm sorry. We've established I'm a literalist the last time we talked.
We did. Except for the part that I had my microphone settings kind of stupid, and so it cut it out.
That's fine.
All we
That's
got was just
fine.
litter, and that was it.
Yeah. They got the picture.
Okay, they have time to react to that.
Oh, by the way, there's also a message at the beginning of this movie that says animals were 100% harmed in the making of this movie.
Oh yes,
Whoa,
absolutely.
okay. Not appropriate.
Oh yes, animated animals were harmed in the
Dude,
making
their
of this
chariots
movie.
are made, they have to be made of freaking titanium.
They're Egyptian. That means that the aliens made them.
Oh,
No,
of course.
yes, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Not any slaves that the Egyptians might have had for an extended period of time, like 400 years.
No, definitely not.
Yep.
For those who don't know, I'm talking about the Hebrews.
In case
You
you're
don't
unaware.
know, I'm one of those freaks that has pineapple on a pizza.
All right,
Hey.
so I don't think I can do this
Well,
with you
you just,
anymore.
It's a good
you just
man.
polarized
It's a good
half the
man.
audience, dude.
Mhm.
It's okay. You can have a wrong opinion.
I would also like to take a moment just to appreciate, because this is the first time he shows up, but the voice cast overall was phenomenal. But Sir Patrick Stewart being the Pharaoh is
Yeah,
Oh,
Val
it's- yes.
Kilmer,
Mhm.
Val Kilmer
Val
being
Kilmer, Ralph
Moses.
Fiennes, like
the Iceman from Top Gun was
Yep.
Moses. Which fun fact?
friggin' Voldemort was Ramesses.
Voldemort was Ramesses.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Moses was
Oh, man,
the literal boy who lived.
Yep.
But yeah, fun fact about Top Gun, the original one. I saw that one for the first time about 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
for the
nice.
first, because I was trying to get ready for Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I should probably watch the original one, and lo and
Yeah,
behold,
probably.
which all the stuff in the planes, phenomenal.
Mhm.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, anything outside, anything dealing with like the characters in the Top Gun class, phenomenal. The love story,
Not so great.
not so great, and I had to I got bored, so I stopped watching during those scenes. But like anything else in that movie,
Mm-hmm.
It's
Also, I know we're watching Prince of Egypt, but on the Top Gun note,
we're
in
talking
case
about
you ever
whatever the
just
heck
want to
we want.
ruin. That's true.
I'm
We are
eating a
meant
ham
to talk
and
to
pineapple
movies.
pizza.
Doesn't say what we
can
have to
do
talk
anything
about.
we
So
want. There are no rules.
the
perfect.
one
I
rule is
love
to
it.
always talk about a beautiful shot. That's the
Mhm.
only rule
That's fair.
of
That's
any
fair.
movie.
But for Top Gun, in case you ever want to ruin yourself, just go look up Legal Eagles video discussing how many crimes were committed in the first
I mean,
Top Gun movie.
I
It's
love
so
Legal
bad.
Eagle.
It's so great, but it's so bad. He's like, yeah, no, he might have received the death penalty for this. It's like, oh
Oh
man.
shoot!
I remember one night I didn't want to go to bed. I wasn't tired yet, and I just wanted to watch movies. I
Mhm.
just randomly started watching Legal Eagle videos about
Yep.
any topic I could find. Normally, though,
There go the pyramids.
the big one. Oh, I love. I'm sorry, I just heard. I
That was a
don't know
good
which
line.
one I heard, but the Here Goes the Pyramids. I love that line. Backtracking.
You will manage to bring the greatest
Uh,
kingdom of earth to rule.
Legal Eagle. One night, I just started watching every Legal Eagle video I could find about the January 6th riots, just because I was that bored and didn't want to go to bed. So I was like, let's see all the crimes that were committed, based from a lawyer's standpoint.
You owe us an apology.
I just want to say that those guys would never believe that it was Ramses. Moses is
For real.
so the youngest child.
Like, he's grown up in the palace this whole time. Like, you think they would know at this point, like,
Yeah.
who is doing what.
It's,
Hey,
yeah,
there's
it's
an
like, okay,
cinema
that
scene.
was Moses.
Oh, in that case, I suppose you care a lot more than I do that we're late for the banquet.
Oh, you're okay. Run.
I think that
Put
was the
your
first
other
moment that we
tuning
see
on.
that it's a wig, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody will even notice us coming in.
Also, as a heads up, guys, in case you look down and I'm crying at any point in this movie, it's just an inevitability. I just accept it at this point. Anytime I watch this movie, I will be crying at some
That's fair.
point.
Understood.
It's a beautifully made movie, and I
It
saw
is
Steven's
so
post
beautiful.
on Facebook
Mhm.
getting
Mhm.
ready for this movie about Through Heaven's Eyes.
That's one of my favorite.
Oh,
That's one of
we're
my
not even-
favorite movie songs ever.
I love this movie. Sorry.
Don't
was thinking about-
apologize, because it's a phenomenal movie. It's
It
a
is.
good movie to have on your favorites list.
Of all the movies, this is the one I will probably fangirl the most about.
Hmm
Not even gonna apologize for that.
No, don't.
The priests offer tribute to their new region. Excellent.
Can
Also-
I talk about these two being Martin Short and Steve Martin?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good combo right there.
Phenomenal.
I didn't realize who that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great, not only acting, but even a good comedy combo.
And again, that's just going back to what Caspian was saying. The voice casting for this movie.
Hmm Yep.
I will agree across the board, except for Jeff Goldblum. I think this was one of his worst performances.
Who does
Who is
he
just
play?
Think Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because he
we're
plays
gonna have
Aaron.
to strongly disagree there.
He plays Aaron. I just think he's bland.
Oh,
he plays
you're
Aaron.
right.
Yeah.
He does,
Okay.
and I love him as Aaron. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm-
It's one of my favorite aspects. Is his
Wait.
performance.
I'm sorry. Can I just point out this is a massive coincidence? I mean, that's his Muse's future wife. Yes.
Yes.
But if you think about it, isn't life full of coincidences, though?
Hmm
When people say in stories they hate when coincidences happen, I'm just like, but that's life.
But that's
Like-
that's not quite the point though, because they're just introducing a point of conflict that doesn't exist in the original story for the sake of the romanticism.
Which
True.
watch this right here, because this is a point that I thought was very interesting. They make it a point to show her disappointment with how he treats Zipporah.
hmm
I
Yep.
find, you see, because like the way that it's kind of approached today is like we're gonna beat it into your head the way that we want you to treat people.
hmm
Disappointment's a very powerful tool, and it's not always it's really not always the right tool to use, but here it's a very powerful tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm still to this day, I'd rather face my dad yelling and screaming than have to deal with my mom's look of disappointment
hmm
to this day.
Yeah.
Because at least as an adult, I can yell and scream back. I wouldn't, because honor your father and mother,
hmm
but at least as an adult, I could. And my dad might respect me for sticking up for myself. But man, a look of disappointment from my mom breaks me every time.
hmm
What is he psyching himself up for? Oh, the
Her.
power button.
Hey, leave the
Okay.
poor greyhounds alone.
They were just
I take
victims, man.
offense to that.
They were victims, man.
I got my greyhound
Yeah.
right here. My greyhound.
your-
I protect
your-
my greyhound. We don't tie
Your
up our
greyhound
greyhounds.
is the goodest of boys.
He is the goodest of boys. Thank
He
you
is.
for noticing.
You're welcome. I see how much you and Brennan talk about him, so it clearly must be true.
I could show him off. Move my camera and show him off.
Dude, these guards.
That moment of uncertainty is just quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Greg. Oh, look, convenient doorway.
To be fair, I'm sure the doorway was supposed to be right there, Josh, because there was a road.
True.
All right, fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
mean,
Like
can
I
you
said-
imagine putting a giant door there? It would be so inconvenient. But then again, they did build everything out of solid stone.
Just gonna
So
get a
Why would you
hole
wanna
in the
walk
wall.
through
Like, why would
this?
you want a hole in the wall?
Exactly.
Man, to be honest, I had forgotten about this whole sequence.
I had
Like that
love
little
this.
conflict, like mini conflict and resolution with them.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but of course it sets up him meeting.
Yeah, Aaron and Miriam.
Aaron and Marion. Yeah.
Right. I was also just
Oh,
kind
and of course she knows who he is. Yeah. Okay.
Don't we know someone who was on the theological board to review this movie? I feel like it was someone at Truett.
That would be cool.
I don't remember. Not that I can remember. I mean, for the sake of argument, we could say Dr. Lyon.
Should we argue that, though?
I feel like it was Mael, but I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Mael, if you just happen to be watching this disgrace and you just wanna chime in, was it you or am I speaking for someone else here?
Let's pause for response.
Like he's done great in other movies. I don't think it fits.
Are you talking about
Goldblum.
Aaron?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. I've always liked he always seemed like he had the most emotion that fit the animation. Like Val Kilmer does a phenomenal job too. Don't get me wrong.
Can we
But it's
also
just like it seems well placed to me, especially next to Sandra Bullock, whom I love, but the voice in the animation doesn't always feel like it's
From who?
perfectly aligned.
I'll give you that, but I would say that of her in real life too.
Eh,
Enough of this.
another character I need to point out that Val Kilmer voices is God himself.
oh yeah,
Ooh.
yep.
I've forgotten about that.
I
He's
forgot
talking
about
to the
that
burning
too.
bush. Yep.
I think that even though I love the Heaven's Eyes song, I think that scene is my favorite.
Oh yeah. This scene coming up, this whole All I Ever Wanted scene is probably one of my favorites.
Oh, I
that's-
love this song.
The
It's so
song is good. The cinematography of it, like,
Mm-hmm.
mwah.
You know you've done good with a song when the first time it's played it does well, and then when you reprise it later in the
Mhm.
movie with a different
Yep.
feel, it still works.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love this contrast that they do with the hair over the eyes thing, the symbolism.
Yep.
It's so
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, the callback to the scene with his mom
With the mom
on the riverbank, it's so good. Also, this was one of the first songs I ever legitimately covered with my friend Joa, where we just kind of downloaded the music track from online somewhere, and then because I love this song, I love the music from the whole movie, but singing Moses's parts is just it's very moving. It's a very emotional series of pieces to sing.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of music, did you guys know this was a Broadway musical? They made this into a Broadway musical.
Really?
Oh
Yep.
wow!
And you know what wasn't good? The music from the Broadway
Yep.
musical.
Oh no!
Yep.
I was like, how do you mess this up? How? You had everything right there and you messed it up.
Yeah.
All I ever wanted.
It's got a good. Is this Val Kilmer singing or is this someone else?
It is someone else. I don't remember the name of the singer that did the vocals for Moses.
It's really good. I mean,
Yeah, they matched him very well.
I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things you can say about the film is like, oh, look at them having good house. Oh my goodness. All the little speed noodles.
And we've lost Steven, folks.
Oh, it's so cute. Now, I do love this upcoming scene. It feels a little weird the first time you watch it, but I love when creators experiment with something new.
Yeah, I think this thing that's coming up used to terrify me as a kid.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
same.
Like anytime
100%.
I would ask my mom or my babysitter to watch it, they would have to fast forward through this part
Yeah.
because I did not like it. But man, it's animation wise, and as an adult who's not scared anymore,
Yeah.
the animation of the scene is very
pretending he's not scared anymore. No.
Just watch his face, guys. Just watch where the eyes go.
Look at his face.
Ah! Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm not scared, guys. I'm not scared.
He's really just scared of Moses' ugly mug. I mean, who wouldn't be?
Oh.
No, I think it was the end of the because of the end of the segment.
Yeah.
When he falls, that is what scared me. So that made the whole scene scared me.
Oh yeah, no, I used to have nightmares about this sequence. Like, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
They used to not be as scared to, or not as worried to make kids scared with movies. I mean, like, and honestly, I don't know how I feel about that because, like, I get that this like causes like nightmares and whatnot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like no question. Like you walk away from this and you know that this was an evil act.
Yeah.
Even a kid can watch this and be like, "Oh, there's no redeeming this."
Nope.
And that's another thing that's great about the movie is the willingness not to shy away from the darker aspects of the story. Because there are some horrible moments in this story, just from a like emotional and like human standpoint. Like, because Pharaoh sent out a command to have the children killed.
Yep.
And they show that explicitly. Like, they don't show you, everything in horrific detail, but they give you enough that you're like, this is what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't hide the brutality of it.
Yeah.
Which is good. Well, yeah, and I love the symbolism of them chasing him as an adult. It's like, oh yeah, you were one of the ones that he wanted hunted down.
Yep.
So it kind of wakes him up to that reality. That's like, oh, he could still try to kill me.
Yep.
Yeah. Then in that last scene, you kind of see his face like harden into resolve. Like, okay, I have to leave. And of course, I guess from a biblical standpoint, you could argue if he shouldn't have run away. He could have stayed and stood firm. Then, because then the burning bush scene is kind of God sending him back. Don't run away. I still need you in Egypt.
Yep.
But what's interesting about this, and I forget who it was that was saying it. You guys know the common thing where it says like Darth Vader is the greatest villain in the history of movies?
Yeah.
I don't buy that crap. I think that Pharaoh here is a way better villain because like he believes that he's fighting for the good.
Right.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That shows that like evil.
Even
things...
Ramesses later in the movie believes that too.
Yeah.
And we see that through this movie because that's something else I wanted to talk about. Why I think I like this movie so much. And Steven, you can attest to this with how long you've known me. A lot of my favorite stories are the close friend, brother rivalries that, Naruto, Smallville with Lex and Clark.
And then Lion King.
Lion King. Yeah, with, again, the whole brother fighting brother aspect. I love, noted, ultimately, in Lion King, it becomes uncle versus nephew, but still, that, because there's just something about a story, when you tell a story about two brothers fighting, or two different ideologies from two brothers fighting, it really drives home what, like, and I guess depending which viewpoint you hold to, you can see both are in the right, but one is ultimately a better mindset to have over the other. Right. Which is why I love the song Plagues when we get to that moment.
Yes. Oh. Another aspect I like about the movie from a storytelling point of view is they change. They don't change, but they add to the story. But it's never in a way that feels like it's trying to diverge from the message of the story.
Yep.
At any point. It really is just kind of adding a layer of this is a possibility, even though we know that's not how it happened. Having that context of Moses and Ramesses actually being brothers and friends for a long time, and then introducing that conflict, that adds a level of complexity to it that I think really adds more emotional weight and meaning
Yeah.
to the story, to this version of the story anyways.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even her little bit of dialogue there that she tells him, in a way, it's true. He's like, why did you choose me? And she's like, we didn't. The gods chose you.
Yeah.
And it's like, in a way, she's not wrong. God
She's
did
not wrong,
choose.
yeah.
And it kind of mirrors or foreshadows what God is going to tell him
Yeah.
later.
And it shows that you can recognize God's movement even if you don't attribute it to him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and a tagline with all the promotion, because all the special features, on the DVD, you could watch the trailers and promotional material. The tagline for both were born for greatness, or both were leaders. One was just born as a leader, and the other was made into a leader.
Yeah.
This scene is so
I think it's really good because this added a complex feature to an already complex character. Now that he's seen the world around him, he can't unsee it. And now that he's seen it, he has to act on it.
Well, yeah, and it sets a really nice contrast with the opening scene where he is the jocular, he is the one who's having fun at the expense of his slaves. And then Ramses in this scene is now trying to kind of have that again.
Yeah.
But it's like, no,
and fighting out of the blue corner, we have Davy the Strong Hand, and in the red corner we have Moses the Slow Tongue. Where did that name come from, boys? I've never heard him do anything as slow as speech. Either way, this is going to be a great rumbling match. I feel like the Strong Hand's going to come out. It's a sneak attack from the far red corner.
He's out of here! Oh, the crowd goes wild!
There's no coming back from this. His career is over.
He's going to have a hard time walking that one off.
I don't think he's going to be walking anywhere.
But going back to what Caspian was talking about earlier, the liberties they took with the stories, even though we know, this is not about this scene specifically, just in general with this movie. I was watching with this buddy of mine, and he did not like this movie because it was not 100% biblically accurate. And I'm like, buddy, the point of the story is still there. I get it. It's not 100% accurate, but the point and the meaning of the message is still there. Do they focus a lot on Ramesses and Moses being brothers? Yes. But that's what this movie is. But the point of the message is still God will provide for his people, and God will not forget his people.
Yep. And in the original story too, because it's the princess, or what was it, Pharaoh's daughter that rescued Moses?
Yeah, Pharaoh's daughter.
She had him taken back to his mother and raised among his people, among Hebrews.
So he knows who he is.
Yeah, so he knows his heritage, and it also allowed them to hide him a little bit more. But then you also think he definitely had to appear before the court at times, because he had interactions with the royal court and the royal family. And it's still in the realm of feasibility for them to have this kind of storyline and it not feel, again, out of place.
But dang, that line that he gave Ramesses, the same one that Miriam gave him. Ask the man that we once called father, or that I once called father.
Yeah.
All right. Also, yes, we've talked about the songs and the lyrical scores, but the original soundtrack, Hans Zimmer.
Of course it was.
Yep, 100%. It's part of the reason why it's so spectacular.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the early ones of his, right?
One of the early animations that he did. It might have been the first animated feature he'd done. It was not the first movie
Second.
he had done.
Second, because he did The Lion King before this one, I think.
That's right. Yes, you're correct. That came out several years before this one did.
Yep.
But yeah, no, even just, and a lot of animated features, it feels like, suffer from this, where the music just for ambience and for setting doesn't always feel gratifying. It doesn't match the tone and the setting. This movie, every scene the music accompanies, it fits 100%, and it only gives you that greater depth of enjoyment. And it's I love this movie so much. We're on the same page, Jeff.
Yeah. And it adds something to the visuals of what you're seeing.
It's one of the things that I've been learning, because I'm not as much of a musician as I used to be, but what I do with music now, and I've shared a few of these with Jeb. I've been putting together a Dungeons and Dragons campaign for a while, and
Hey, nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I've been wanting to add music in with it too, and that's been part of my creative process. Is like thinking, what kind of emotion do I want this song to compel? So like, if there's a sense of danger, I want it to feel like it's dangerous or suspicious, and give that like anxious feeling.
Yeah, and from everything he's shown me, guys, it's very nice.
Nice. Yeah, and that's what good music
Spicy.
should do, especially accompanying stories and stuff like that.
And like you were saying, like, I wish there was more, like, now that I don't, like, yes, I'm a musician, I play in the band, I play saxophone, but I'm not something I want to go into as a career. But like, every time I go see a movie, I try to see it at least 2 or 3 times. The first time, what's the story? Does the story impact me? Second, how does the music make me feel in a scene? Third, what's the cinematography look like? Where I could probably get that in the first viewing, but I won't really pay attention to it.
Yeah. Goes with what I tell you about impressions. Always go on the third impression.
Yep.
First impression, you either really like or really hate something. Second impression is the exact opposite of the first one. And the third one, you realize, okay, both times I was being a dummy. This here in the middle is about where I really feel about it.
That's why I don't do any movie reviews anymore after first viewings, because I go back and watch some of my old ones, and I'm like, man, I really only reacted to this movie. I didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I went to go see the new Fantastic Beasts movie with my girlfriend when it came out, and I liked it when, and she even mentioned it. She was like, Jeb, you really liked it when we saw it. And I was like, yeah, that was my first viewing. Then I watched people talk about it. I watched people review it. I watched people come up with theories about the movie. And I'm like, oh, this movie did have some problems. And she said that. She was like, Jeb, you were so happy about it after your first viewing. Then you watched someone review it, and then your whole tone changed. And I'm like, I don't want to just react to a movie. I want to actually, digest it. Then she was like, great, is this going to be what I'm going into now? And I'm like, yes, babe. Movies to me is what I'm passionate about, which means I will digest it, not just react to it, which I feel like a lot of people just do that. A lot of people just react when they watch it one time and they're like, oh, that was good, or oh, that was bad. They don't watch it multiple times and be like, here's how I really feel about it. Like, I can confidently say.
Oh my gosh! I'm sorry. Go
Oh, you're good.
Lets him fall.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up! Before I keep going, this part.
Oh, look at that! So happy, so satisfied with herself.
And that's why Papa says she'll never get married.
So great.
But I can confidently say, I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but that's why it's my opinion. Like I told Steven, he can have a wrong opinion. Same goes to me. Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Oh, I was wrong.
I like. Noted. I like parts of it, and the parts I like, I feel like outweigh the bad. But I like The Last Jedi. Noted. It's not the greatest movie of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, but to be honest, retrospectively, that whole trilogy sucks. But after watching it a few times, watching it on my own, watching people who liked it, watching people who didn't like it, coming with my own thoughts and opinion, that's where I can say I stand on it. I didn't just react to it.
Right.
Yeah. Which is important. You shouldn't just watch something one time and let that be your opinion. You can have assumptions and impressions based on that, but you have to re-examine things so you can actually get the full picture, because you need to be able to both stand firm when you notice something that you believe and you're like, no, this is a problem and I think it's a problem and that's just what I believe. But you also need to be willing to admit when you're wrong, when you're just being biased and you're like, I didn't like this. It's like, yeah, but it was a good story element. It's like, yeah.
I think that's when a lot of people, when I tell people, oh, I rewatch a lot of shows or movies that I watched before, they give me this crazy look like, why? You've already seen it. And I'm like, to see if it still holds up. Like, guys, watching this movie with you guys now, this movie still holds up.
It does.
It is still good. Musically, cinematography,
100%.
Story-wise, it holds up.
Art-wise, yeah. It's
But I wouldn't have known that
song.
this song.
Resisting the urge to dance.
I love his lines there. Or Moses like, I've done nothing worthy of honor, and then he turns it on him and he's like, you don't know what is worthy of honor.
Yeah.
It's such a healing idea.
Can you tell what a man is worth? I don't know the lyrics and I don't have the subtitles.
You must look at your life. Oh, it's so good.
Through heaven's eyes, la la
Every
la
time
la
the
la.
part when he sings that you must learn to join the dance, it's like, I'm already dancing, my boy.
Just so like you were saying, Josh, this has that where he was talking to Jethro. It has that element of he can see that Moses is grappling with the things he's done in his past, and the fact that he feels true remorse and true, guilt over that.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to like take him down that path, like you were saying, of like, look what you've done. That's good though. Look what you are capable of doing when you use your life the way you should. Look at your life through heaven's eyes, which is a very not so subtle way of saying, live your life according to a higher purpose, not yours. So
yeah, exactly.
And talking about that, it's almost
cute.
It baffles me. Like I mentioned today, I looked at some other biblical movies from recent times, Noah, Exodus, Gods and Kings, when they didn't talk about, this is from Exodus, where this is a portrayal of that story,
Yeah.
And it shows, because from what I've read about those movies, and probably going to watch, because I paid, like I said, I paid money to do my research on Noah, so I might as well watch it. But like, they missed the point of the stories to tell what they thought happened. Where, yes, this movie is not 100% accurate, but we can still see the love of God through this scene. God hasn't even made an appearance in this movie yet.
Yeah.
And we are able to see the core values of the message as God's love is shown through these people helping Moses overcome what he went through.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's another welcome to the segment of the episode where I freak out because people are missing the point of Christian movies.
I mean, let's be honest. Would it really be a Men Who Talk Through Movies episode if Jeb didn't freak out at least once?
I don't think so. I think that would disappoint everyone, including me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I get on a lot of soapbox and TED Talks, but they're soapbox and TED Talks that need to talk because I'm passionate about these things. I'm passionate about Jesus. I'm passionate about movies. And when a simple movie 30 years ago can get it right, but a movie from 7 years ago is like, that didn't happen. We're going to do what we want. And I'm going to be like, this is why your movie sucks and no one likes it. Because I think it was our old music director, Stephen, Miss Rhonda, who went to see the Exodus movie and talked about how, in that movie, God was just throwing a temper tantrum. When that's not what God was doing in the story. He was like, no, these are my people and I'm coming to save them. Moses, you're my mouthpiece.
Yep. And I know that part of what people struggle with when they look at God, I mean, they look at especially the Old Testament, but even places in the New Testament, they look at the things that God has done and they're like, how can you say that a God is loving who does this? But usually all you have to do is backtrack a little bit and you start to get an understanding. Like, for example, this upcoming Sunday, I'm going to be preaching in the main service, and I'm going to be preaching out of 1 Samuel 18. And that's when, that's right after David has killed Goliath. And now we're watching as Jonathan and Israel and Saul start to interact. We might have to put this part on pause because not the movie. Don't pause the movie.
All right, pausing the movie.
Do not
Yeah,
pause
no,
the
we're
movie.
not pausing the movie. Let it
Sorry,
play.
Lord.
Give a man power and he'll destroy everything.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
It's really
I mean,
interesting
sometimes it's
how
fire that doesn't burn things, and you like stick your hand in it and it doesn't burn, and you're just like,
We
Who lit
live
this
in
fire?
a society.
The visuals in this scene.
it's really interesting how God allows him to get to a place of real
Mhm.
comfortability, real like settled down into, and of course,
Yeah.
biblically, it's 40 years that he settled in Midian,
Mm-hmm.
and then he pulls him back.
Mhm.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Just let me get my new life all settled, and then.
Yeah, it's-
Yep.
it's probably not the 100% most accurate, but I think that not only true to what Scripture says, but also the character of God. This is the most
Yeah.
accurate scene in the film, and
Oh,
probably
yes,
one of
I
the top
agree.
3 most accurate scenes in all of Hollywood history.
It's so it captures a balance, and it's what I love about this movie as a whole. But this scene, like you were saying specifically, it captures the balance of what people don't often understand, especially if you're not a believer, if you don't study Scripture, if you don't understand this, because you're just not used to seeing this. That God is not just a loving God, and God is not just a righteous and a just God. God is all of these things together and perfectly. And so even when we
Sound
don't,
wave.
that
It's
visual,
from the
yeah.
trees.
But even when we don't understand it,
Yeah.
like you can see God getting, I want to say angry in this scene, but it's not angry in the sense that we as people might understand it. It's anger with a righteousness behind it, where he is
Mhm.
like, my people are suffering, and you are saying no to me when I have called you because I have faith in you that you can do this because you have my power. And then he immediately turns around and tells Moses, I'm going with you. You're not going alone. He supplements that like parental chastisement with love. I love this scene. Sorry. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now.
We gotta stop doing these soapbox things, dudes. I'm running out of things to clean with all this leftover soap.
I mean,
Embrace the cringe, Josh. Embrace the cringe.
That was so bad. That was so bad.
I'm sorry, I'll just use the soap to clean out my mouth now.
that checks out.
You're just making it worse.
Just embrace it. But yeah, and specifically because I think it's
Who made man speak?
yes, like
Oh, I love this movie.
that's was it 2 or 3 Jeb freakouts at this point?
I think that's the second
And
one.
there's more to
Second
come
one.
because wait
That's
until we get to
and
the
Good.
flag.
Jeb,
I
do that
love
again
them.
because you look bald for a moment. Everybody, I want to see what y'all look like bald.
I'm wearing headphones, but here you go. It's for really good-looking bald dudes. That's what that
Put in
is.
the comments who's the best bald.
Oh, right.
Not me. I am dead last for that, I promise you.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Steven or Jeb, right?
Obviously.
I got an egghead underneath.
I could probably pull off being bald. I don't want to though. It's called confidence, guys. You got to have it.
It's called confidence. You see,
We
this? My
let you
confidence
have that,
lives
so we
right
don't
here.
have to.
Oh,
This
thanks.
is my confidence right here.
Your hair is your confidence.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Start to lose it in one
Insane.
place, you just snip a little bit of off and just plug it up there.
Yeah, just stick it back up here.
There you go.
Honestly.
And this right here is a face of a man who's
All right.
seen the love of God.
Yes. Again, the visuals, the tear, everything. That, ooh.
And I love
This
that they
movie captures so many things so well.
I love that they use the quiet voice because we see.
Yeah.
I mean, in Scripture, we see that not only here, which is in Exodus
Yep.
4, but we
Oh,
also
yep,
see
yep.
it in 1 Kings chapter 19 when it's Elijah who's escaping Jezebel,
Yeah.
and then God comes and he says, "Stand out on the mountain, and I will show myself to you." And then we see this big wind blow through, this big destructive wind, this big destructive fire. All of this blows through these mighty,
Yep.
powerful signs, and Scripture repeats, "But God was not there. But God was not there." And then there's a small, quiet voice, and as soon as Elijah hears it, pulls his hood up. He notices right away that the presence of God is there.
Yep.
Yeah. Hide himself from it. Yeah. Protect
This
himself.
scene just, and this is here we see a man telling his experience with God, because people
Yep.
who are listening, that's true. I remember when I became a Christian, I was 8 years old. I remember running around the church after VBS telling everyone I became a Christian. When God works in you, you want to tell people. When I got called to the ministry, I went away privately and called my family to tell them what God had done.
Yeah.
When God works in you, you will want to share.
Yeah.
And even though this like interaction is like, you know, interpretation and, you know, extra biblical, it does show a good example of what a healthy marriage should look like.
Yes.
Yeah. Because he's following God's path, and she's trusting him as the leader in their family, as the man who's supposed to be looking to God. She's looking to him and trusting that, okay, this is his will, so this is what we're doing.
I just want to say, I'm glad DreamWorks did not decide to cover what happens next in the biblical story.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Fair.
For those wondering,
Snip.
the next scene, Zipporah circumcises not only Moses, but their sons as well, because God was about to kill Moses because he was not circumcised.
Yep.
Which sounds extreme, but like, on a level of fairness, he should have known this.
Yes, especially if his mom did teach him, here's how our culture is.
I see this scene right here, and they're showing all of the deep suffering and whatnot, and they're showing how this has been difficult, grinding work for ages, and how they're just worn out physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Everywhere they go, they're just worn out. They've been tortured, killed, and everything. And then as soon as, 2.5 months after they cross the Red Sea, they're like, hey, guys, we should go
so nice
back
in
to Egypt, because that was totes
Can
better
we go
than being
back to
out
Egypt,
here.
please, where we can have the nicest roast goose?
Yep. Because we forget real quickly how bad things get without God. We're like, oh, it was so much better then. Now we're facing a little bit of hardship now. It's like, you were in literal slavery.
To quote me,
you were about to do VeggieTales, weren't you?
No, I was going to do Olin Rogers.
Can't do Olin Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime I read Israel messes up. Again? Freaking again?
Freaking again.
Anytime Israel wants to go back to Egypt. Again?
Yeah. Oh, guys, Olin Rogers, what a man.
Yeah, really.
What's y'all's
Final
favorite
Space,
Olin
guys.
Rogers things?
Oh, Final Space.
Final
Great
Space.
show.
We saw, I think, the first 2 episodes of it. I don't think we watched any further. Does it get better?
I did. Yes, it gets so much better.
Oh, good.
It's on HBO Max.
Ooh, I like HBO.
It's on Netflix. Australian Netflix.
Australian Netflix. Oh.
Fancy Netflix.
Fancy Netflix.
Fancy net, not true. It's so funny.
Moses is like, you're not God, man.
Ramses hasn't changed at all.
No,
in
he hasn't
Egyptian
changed at all.
mythology, yeah, he is.
Yep.
I mean,
They were like, I am the God King. It's like, God King is shorter than I expected.
There's only one God King, ma'am, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Oh, I love that line.
And we're about to get to that. Okay, so we're about to get to a song that, Jeb, you used to sing a lot during childhood.
I loved it growing up, man.
But here's the thing, though. Every time that you would sing one of these songs, I don't know why, but I'd automatically put in my head, man, this song probably sucks.
Wow.
I was always wrong.
Thanks.
To be fair, I was always wrong.
He was right on occasion. This one was not that occasion.
This you were right about, and the Les Mis songs you were right about.
Oh, this scene
Oh,
is
the
cool.
Les Mis songs.
Mhm. Les Mis is
The
so
interpretation of how they do this scene is stellar too.
Oh, it's so
Yes.
good.
Incorporating it into the story.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Which, Jeb, going back to what you were talking about earlier with other movies more recently doing stories based on, quote unquote, based on scripture, and it being so wrong, I think the reason that for us, and really just kind of for anyone, the reason why it feels so off-putting and wrong is that they do veer so far away from the intended message, what the story is supposed to be. This movie, it expresses the same motive, the same story, the same beginning and ending as the story in scripture, and puts the effort in to try and do that. Those other movies don't. They're just basically, this is my interpretation. God is a vengeful God, and clearly written by people who don't actually understand scripture and understand the aspects of the nature of God, which, to be fair, none of us understand the aspects of the nature of God past a certain point, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they just like this movie gets that point across that it's not about Moses v. Pharaoh.
Mhm.
It's about God versus the gods of Egypt, and how each time God will master the supposed abilities of the gods of Egypt. He takes the Nile, which is the
The lifeblood of
it's
Egypt,
like the
basically.
realm of one of the gods. It's like, oh, this is my area. This is what I control. And God's like, no, I control it. I control it with everything. And even Moses' line says, "Behold the power of God, not my power."
Right.
Yeah.
And then Ramses also is like, okay, I'll play along, but he knows that he is not the mouthpiece of the gods of Egypt. His priests.
I mean,
One
even
reason
in
I
this
don't
scene
like the
here.
Broadway musical, sorry, it gets rid of this
Oh, no.
song.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
well, that's an
And
atrocity.
it also technically gets rid of plagues. It still has like, there's not a plague song, but one of the songs has like the piano riff and like the motif of it.
Man, because like if you put like this as it stands on a stage, it would be
Yes.
astonishing.
It would be.
The lighting work, the like extra work. Oh, that would be so stunning.
It wouldn't even have to be a lot. You just get a little bit of smoke stuff going on and some red
Have
lighting.
a red light,
and
a white
man,
light,
you
and a blue
could-
light.
Oof. I also appreciate like a lot of the way that this movie works, and good movies master this art, the art of background and foreground.
Yes.
Yes.
So right now, like the foreground is we are challenging Moses. And that Moses is, like I say, playing with the big boys now. You are out of your league, and you don't know what you're in for. And in the background, as we're about to see, their snakes get ate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's another one of those instances where God is like, not even just going up against the gods per se, but God is basically saying, here's what your the servants of the gods of Egypt are capable of, and here's what my servant is capable of. One snake v2, and you're already down and out for the count. Like,
tasty.
Which, honestly, if Moses' staff just ate 2 other snakes, he should get like a staff upgrade from that. Should be like a level up.
With that 9 experience.
And 10 XP.
See Moses' robes glow and change to a blue color. He's like, oh,
and he becomes a Super Saiyan.
God speaks from heaven. You have upgraded to Battle Axe.
Final Fantasy level up theme.
Steven, do you remember that VBS, I guess? We were covering the story of Moses and like how he came down walking down the mountain and Moses' face was just glowing. And AJ just said, oh, so he became a Super Saiyan.
That's right. I do remember that. That was so funny. That was hilarious.
Everyone died laughing and your dad was just like, in a sense, yes.
Curse you, Dragon Ball Z.
What I also really love about the really just about the story of Moses and just following the history is like there's such good visualizations that are so easy to communicate. Like when we went to Ukraine a couple of years ago and we're like, well, we got to find things from the Bible that are easy to interpret and what's the word I'm looking for? They're easy to communicate. And so we used Moses parting the Red Sea because, like, you could take a tarp and you pull it up. That was so much fun because we could just use, like, simple sentences. God said, hold the staff. We'd have a kid hold the staff up.
Yeah.
And then, you have it pull up. And I remember that when we did that, one of the little girl's faces, she just went in shock and amazement. And then, of course, we have the second group follow behind. And then you pull the tarp back over them. So much fun.
Yeah.
Neither will I let your people go. Ramses,
Still haunted by his dad's words.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows his motivation of why
Yep.
he's not. And again, it shows God hardening his heart, or his heart being hardened on his own. Which, again, is this exactly what happened? Maybe, maybe not, but it still gets that point across what the Bible was trying to say. As a kid, I might have been too obsessed with this movie because anytime we did the story of Moses, I was always the one raising my hand answering because I knew this movie well. But it did its job, though. I knew the story of Moses, and I understood the message.
how does it feel when you get
This is the scene that I don't like Jeff Goldblum in. How does it feel, dude? Like, you're down on the dirt, like us now. And you wasn't. You were up there, and now you're down here.
He had the high ground.
Yes, it's over here, Moses. I've got the high ground.
Don't try it. Or you underestimate the power of God.
I've got a snake.
Also, the Kenobi series is 10 out of 10, my guys.
I agree. Despite all of the hate some people seem to be giving it, which is entirely undeserved in my opinion, but whatever.
Man, I'm watching it and I absolutely love it. There are a few gaping holes, but
There's some problems, yes,
There are some
undeniably.
but I just love it.
I just like seeing Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan and knowing that Hayden Christensen is wearing the Darth Vader suit makes me so happy.
It's so good. Like, it's just so good. I'm like, oh, I see these holes, but I'm just like, I don't care. I love it.
I've got a question. There's something that's been bugging me because you've been saying it all day today, and I'm just a little confused. What the heck even is Australian Netflix?
Australian Netflix.
Is it different from American Netflix?
See, that's what I'm
Yes,
wondering.
it is,
I mean, you've
actually.
said it like 4 times. I'm like, am I missing something here?
Not really. It's just Netflix with different stuff on it.
Yeah,
So it's just
Netflix in different regions. Yeah.
Better
it's just
stuff?
Netflix in different regions.
Oh, yeah. Are there better stuff? I heard the UK have all the Ghibli movies, and I need a VPN in order to watch
No,
those.
honestly,
To be
I don't
fair,
They're on
HBO
HBO.
Max also has all the Ghibli movies.
That's true.
I know because I watched most of them.
know.
But like, you got Blazing Saddles on Netflix, and Netflix wouldn't dare put that up over here.
Dang.
Blazing Saddles. No, I honestly don't know. I don't know if it's better or not. I haven't seen US Netflix in almost 5 years. So
Yeah.
Fair. You're not missing anything, trust me.
You really aren't, because the only things I cared about on Netflix are now on Disney Plus. So I mean,
Yep.
I think that
Yep.
Netflix is it's not as good as it used to be.
No.
You know? So
I have a sneaking suspicion when the Avatar: The Last Airbender live series comes out. I think it's going to be good. Do I think
I
it's
do
going to be
too.
anywhere near as good as the original series? Obviously
No.
not. But I think, based on what I've seen and based on what I've been told about the series, despite the fact that Mike and Brian left as showrunners,
Which
I
hurts
still think
so
we're going to
much.
get something. I know it does. It hurts a lot because there's that immediate distrust where you're like, I remember when this happened last time.
Yep.
But
I do
M. Night
believe it's good.
Shyamalan.
I do believe, though, it's going to be a good show, regardless
I
if the
agree.
original showrunners are there or not.
I agree.
I do
Because
have,
they had confidence in the writing team that they hired. They've said
They
that
did.
verbatim. They were like, the team that we worked with, they're good people, and they might do something that is good. We just can't put our names to it for fear that the fans won't like it, which is totally understandable. I get where they're coming from.
Yep. And here, all of Egypt is now screwed because their whole life is now destroyed.
everything.
Uh-huh.
now,
All the
something
fish are dead.
I never picked this up until I rewatched yesterday. But
Mhm.
when the camera pans back over, not camera, but camera. When the camera pans back over to Moses,
Oh,
watch his feet.
yep, I know what you're talking
You
about.
know what I'm talking
Because
about.
it's one of my favorite details in the movie.
I didn't notice it until this last time, and there
It's
is
so subtle.
there is biblical significance to that, which we will get to in just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
His priest.
They,
just oh right, yes.
as they put their powder, their packet of Kool-Aid powder.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I'm not sure if blood has the same significance in Egypt, but it's certainly unclean and unclean. Well, and I guess it's not unclean yet because we haven't had the establishment of the law, but
yeah, but they would have seen it that way. I
Yeah.
think that we can culturally pick up that they probably would have seen it that way. Look at Moses' feet.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
And that has
That
biblical
is just-
significance because the wells of the Israelites were
Yeah.
not blood.
Clean. Yeah.
Nope.
So I
It was
thought,
just the Nile,
Yeah.
the lifeblood of Egypt.
so that's a
Yeah.
very very clever way to point out something in Scripture without being super obvious about it.
So since we're about to get into the plagues, question for the theologians here, which
Love this scene.
are everyone here. Yes, I love the scene too. What do y'all think of the argument that the plagues were to go up against the Egyptian gods?
I've heard that argument. I've not looked into it enough. I'm skeptical, but I'm usually skeptical until I've gone through something.
Fair.
I remember researching this, and I can't remember. It's been so long since I remember this argument, and I remember liking the argument. I cannot quote anything to you at the moment, but I remember looking at it and saying, this makes sense. Because it's basically God saying, you're praying to your gods, and they have domain over these specific things. They have no power. I am God alone, and I have the power over all of these things, and my servant, whom I've given power, can control all of these things using my will. And so I do like that argument that it's basically showing Egypt, hey, your gods are unreliable, the same way that Elijah does with the prophets of Baal. Like, it's... I like the argument.
And now, when we go through the plagues here and we watch how all of them interact, we get just a taste of what living in Australia is like.
There's not enough spiders in this scene, though.
Hey, let's be complete. Come on, let's be fair. Like, it's like
that
every
shot.
like 2 to 4 years, like you guys have like some kind of like spider plague or like something else that's come through and like destroys everything.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, it's true. It's true. You gotta watch out for them funnel webs this time of year.
So,
No, as far as the argument goes, I definitely set a lot by it. I really think that tells the story in a way that makes the most sense, because Egypt lived by their gods. Everything they did, every action that they made was by the gods. Everything that was good or bad was because of the will of the gods.
Yeah.
And
So-
I think that.
sorry, Josh.
Go ahead.
Oh, so the reason I asked that was Lindsay sent me, my girlfriend, she sent me a TikTok about explaining what I asked you guys, to which I said, I've heard that. I think, though, that the plagues were more to convince Pharaoh about God's sovereignty and just not an attack on the Egyptian gods, but to show that he is God and that their gods weren't real and that he had
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that really is the main message of it. Like, there's always like more than one message that can be happening at the same time.
Of course.
And really, I don't think, if I'm thinking through it, I really think that the theory doesn't do anything negative if it's false. I think it's only really theologically significant if it's true. Like, otherwise, if it's not true, it's still a cool thought, but it doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
I love this movie!
This is one of the most visually perfect
3.
scenes in all of animation. It's probably my top 1 scene in all of animation. You can fight me on that.
My favorite thing to do with this song, too, growing up, was to look up, like, for example, Kingdom Hearts, Heartless and Nobodies with the plagues.
Yeah.
And show them, and but it fit, though. It would normally have Sora as on the side of the Hebrews and Riku on the side of, and it just worked. Or Naruto and Sasuke. I love seeing that duality and seeing people mish and mash and seeing how it and then this scene coming up, him walking through.
That scene is
his
so
home.
good right there, where he touches that pillar.
Yep.
Yeah, him walking through his home and seeing like, this is what it's come to. His old home is now almost destroyed.
Well, and it directly contrasts with that other scene where he touches that pillar in the same way and said, "This is all I ever wanted," and now he's looking at it and it's frail.
Yeah. And I think that they did a good job of making that a solid point, because his point when Moses came back was, I see a new and a better Egypt, and it's almost instantly crumbled.
Yep.
Even with the first plague alone, it's instantly crumbled. And we watch in scripture, as the plagues progress, more and more Egyptians are starting to believe God.
Yep. And I love how people are like, oh, there's no historical documents about the plagues. Why should we believe it then? And then I'm just like, if you were Egypt,
document their failure.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was like, if you were Egypt, would you want to talk about how your gods weren't able to save you from these 10 disasters that your slaves' God was able to bestow upon you?
And that's why the biblical scriptures are so significant, because they document the losing side.
Yeah.
And Egypt historically
never happens in history. We almost never see that.
Yeah.
Because people are right. History is told by the victors, which is why you never see a losing side talk about how they lost an event. Because that would put a bad reputation on them.
Yeah. It's also well known that Egyptian pharaohs would take credit for the successes or achievements of their predecessors and like try to scrub off their name and be like, aha, it's mine now. See, the Great Pyramid belongs to me. It's like, really, how'd you build it? Shut up. It's like, okay, cool, Khufu, cool.
Oh, yes, exactly right. Yes. No, but I love bringing that perspective. It's like, no, I mean, even in today's society, we don't like to document our failures, you know.
Yeah.
It's only the true historians among us that are like, no, we need to save the record for posterity.
Yep.
Exactly as it was. But so much of our political and even curriculum that we teach kids is whitewashed, depending on where you're from.
Yeah. And usually the tales of what happened from the loser's perspective come from the losers. Like, it's recorded by the people who suffered from things like this, which is why I like finding books written by people who lived during, like, I have a book that was written in 1850 something, I think, by a man who grew up in Germany at the time, right after the Napoleonic Wars. And he basically just tells life stories of him growing up, about his grandfather and about people who lived in his town, how they were a German town, but there was a French soldier that had like retired and lived there. And there were multiple occasions of French soldiers coming to harass his family at their house on their farm. And then the French soldier that lived in the town and everyone knew would dress up in his like fatigues and come and basically like pretend to be a commanding officer to scare away the French soldiers.
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
I love stories like that, and it's cool because you get that perspective from someone who's just telling stories from their life.
Of what they're living, yeah. No agenda.
Yep.
Man, this poor kid.
But honestly, I think that I wouldn't say that this answers the question, but like this gives a visual imagery of why God does what he does sometimes. Because we oftentimes, what I was talking about earlier before we got to
Heaven, or no, it was the burning bush, but
burning bush, yes. So like when I was doing my research and stuff, I remembered the Amalekites, whom Saul was told to destroy completely, was one of the few people groups in history that God said completely destroy.
Yeah.
And so, at first we look at that and we're like, man, that's just absolutely awful, and that's terrible. And why would that happen? And honestly, it's difficult for us to understand because we don't have this eternal perspective, and we don't have this God perspective either. and it wasn't us who were wronged. So it's difficult for us to be able to compare that emotion with what reality is.
Yeah.
But I think that scene right there gave a good visual of it. When Ramesses' son comes in, and he just looks at Moses and goes, "What's he doing here?" And all of a sudden we see that not only does this sin pass on from generation to generation, but this hatred against Israel is passed on generation to generation. And it was going to keep being carried on.
Yeah. And a funny, first off, going back to what you were saying, yeah, a lot of things we have to question, why would a loving God do that? But one thing I like to talk about, for example, with the conquest, the people in the promised land had 440 years to repent, you know? And the fact that they were still living in their sinful ways, you know, not living for God, God gave them plenty of time. So yes, we're like, why would God do that? But we also got to be like, God gave them time. And going back to this scene, a common misconception on this scene is because I remember being taught it in Sunday school. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, all the firstborn sons were killed. Well, that's not what scripture says. This is the one time scripture just says the firstborn child.
The firstborn. Yep.
Because I remember in Sunday school when we were talking this, because I'm the firstborn son in my family. So they were like, oh yeah, if this happened in today's world and, you know, Jeb's parents didn't do this, Jeb would have been. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad we don't live in that world. But I did research and I'm like, it just says the firstborn child.
Yeah.
Well, and it says the firstborn of all the animals in all of Egypt.
Exactly.
It wasn't just the humans.
No.
Which
also they didn't have to put the constellation Orion in this. They didn't have to have an accurate sky depiction there, but they did. So.
And my neighbors are starting target practice.
Oh, fun.
Oh, gotta love it.
Yep.
Americans.
I know, we're the worst. I can say that because I know I'm the worst. Society tells me that all the time.
No, Jeb, this is all Barbara's fault.
Oh, of course.
Yes,
of course.
Barbara's the worst.
Barbara's the worst. Freaking Barbara.
This scene.
Who's Barbara?
It's a Markiplier video. There's some, like, we saw the first time, like, ages ago, and we've just been quoting it back and forth ever since then.
We have. You right.
This is all Barbara's fault.
Freaking Barbara.
Was that the bite of 87?
Oh, hold up. Was that the bite of 87?
It's man.
He recreated that recently when he was going through his replays of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, and gosh, because originally it was actual chocolate. Oh, was that the bite of 87? And then now Markiplier present day was like, was that the bite of 87? Like playing into the meme.
Yes.
Gosh, I love Markiplier. His videos bring me much joy.
What time stamp are y'all at right now? Because I'm getting some choppy signal.
I'm at 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Ooh, hey.
I'm at 1 hour, 17 and 5.
I'm a whole minute behind.
Hey!
Yeah, I'm
We're
running.
on point, Josh.
But
So
Josh and Caspian are watching on
same
YouTube.
place.
Yeah.
We know what's happening together.
Yeah. We know what's going on. Yeah, we're watching it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I probably shouldn't say this, and I'll probably pay for it, but I'm just gonna trust you guys to keep me up to date with what's happening in the movie.
The singing has started, Steven. The singing has started.
Oh crap!
Wait, Jeb, where are you?
The singing has started.
Okay, all right.
The most pointless song, not pointless, because the message behind it's sweet, but the song is overused.
Well, it's also the only song that's like that takes the focus off of God, and this is what frustrates me sometimes about a lot of God stuff, because sometimes they'll put like this big emphasis on God performing miracles, and then they'll put in this thing about you can make miracles happen, and I hate when they do that. It's like, you were taking it so strong for so long, and then you flip the script on us.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I just hate this because you know how the movie ends doing the reprisal of Deliver Us?
Yeah.
And it's so great and epic and beautiful.
Yeah.
You want to know what the sheet music of my song ended on?
what?
This song. And I'm like, you couldn't
Sorry,
have
buddy.
done- Yeah.
I will say, in slight defense of this song, because it's not my favorite. I like it, but it's not one of the ones that I'll listen to actively when I'm listening to the soundtrack. But there is, that historical context of the Hebrew nation, the Israelites, were aware that God said, when you serve me, as long as you have faith in me, you trust me, you put me first, I am your only God, I will bless you and you will prosper. So there is that perspective of the Hebrews knowing that their belief in God, that their trust in him is what leads to him blessing them and giving them their prosperity. But, not everyone is going to see that. It's going to probably be much more of that, what you guys were saying, where it's like, there can be miracles when I believe. It's like, you're not responsible. You didn't have anything to do with it.
Well, I reckon it's more of the song doesn't complete the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because of course our faith is involved with miracles, but it's not the source of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And God can accomplish a miracle regardless of what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, of course.
I think that's a better way to look at it, Josh.
Yeah. But yeah, the song, it doesn't take it far enough. Because,
and then there's Hebrew, which I kind of understand now.
Okay, so fun fact about the Hebrew. This is pulled directly out of Exodus 15, the Song of Moses. And
that's cool.
Technically,
so
it
cool.
is after
They
the
crossed-
Israelites have crossed crossed the sea.
the Red Sea.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, it takes 3 lines, which could apply to even this part of the story.
Yeah.
And it just plugs them in. And so those are exact scripture being quoted.
Can either of you
That's very
go
cool.
at the translation?
I had it earlier. Let me see if I've still got it.
Oh, it's so good.
I only passed my Hebrew class. I didn't learn it. Because what I'm trying to do right now to get a head start and when I have to take Greek this fall, is I'm going through my book and my vocab cards now so I don't struggle and come the fall.
Just figure out third declension and then you'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right, I will say, I love all of the choral moments in the composition of this soundtrack and this score, and that extends to this one too. I love hearing everyone sing. It's like,
it's
it's
so
good.
good. It's so good. Yeah, hearing people sing, it does something in us.
Yep.
Yeah, whenever I'm doing like a live mixing scenario, I gotta get those people singing, man.
Yeah.
That has so much impact.
I can't remember where I found, and it's going to take too much effort to find it, and I'm lazy.
Come on, Steven. We're about to make it to the climax of the movie.
Yeah, I'm really going to be trusting y'all now because my computer died.
Oh, well, they just made it to the Red
Sea.
Sea.
So, yeah, they just climbed to the Red Sea.
I am going to be paying very close attention to pick up if y'all are lying to me.
The sea of reeds.
Yes. They're all happy because they escaped. The little baby's walking. This guy's resting his feet because he's been walking.
We made it away from Pharaoh.
Donkey drinking, and Moses is being a good leader, giving drink to the elderly.
Yeah.
And then, horn.
Maybe we shouldn't do a play-by-play because that's just emphasizing that you are about 10 seconds ahead of Caspian and I.
Yeah, really.
Then he sees Ramesses on the hill and the big dust cloud of all the army. And Ramesses is like, ah!
He's about to do that ridiculous yell, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's the funniest
Oh
yell.
no, come here, baby! Moses, what are we gonna do?
Why did we put the baby by the cartwheel?
Moses is like, oh no, what do I do?
Oh, where did I put that
it's
baby?
Cthulhu.
Oh, there it is.
It's not Cthulhu. And then a pillar of fire from God to
Can
protect
you
them.
imagine seeing that? Like, not like
Oh my gosh.
Hebrew, Egyptian, either one. You see a literal tornado of fire appear out of nowhere. I don't care who you are or who you believe in. You're not going to have unsoiled undergarments.
That is terrifying.
Moses is like, oh no, what should I do? And the people are like, yeah, Moses, what should you do?
But I love,
And then the Egyptians be like, "Oh, I'm tripping. There's fire."
yeah, because
It's
literally,
hot.
it's one of those moments where scripture is like, and God was literally there in a pillar of smoke and a pillar of fire. And it's like,
Yeah.
there's no like natural phenomena really getting around that. You're just
No.
like, yep,
Okay.
there's God. That's
There
the
he
Spirit
is.
of God right there.
Yeah. Here we go.
Moses lifts up the staff to the heavens.
Not yet. Now it's lifted.
Hey, it's not my fault you're 10 seconds behind.
Yeah.
And then Moses uses God's staff.
And thus aquariums were created.
For the people at home, I'm not doing this for your entertainment or benefit. I'm making sure Steven is aware of where we
Yeah.
are.
Which I appreciate very much.
One of the best water visuals in all of cinema.
There
It
you
really
go.
is.
People at home, if you like this enough, maybe I'll do this for like a few minutes of every movie we do. Just give the Jeb interpretation.
Oh yeah, the new Jeb version, like those
The
old.
new Jeb version of movies.
Because we used to do
The
these old
NJB.
videos. You can still find them. There's 3 of them. We used to do the new Jeb version where we take a story and Jeb would have a Bible in front of him and he would tell it the Jeb style.
The Jeb style, which is
I
basically
remember
what I'm doing
seeing
now,
some-
guys. And the brotherly love between Aaron and Moses was felt. And Aaron head nods to the people and was like, follow me. And
Yeah.
Miriam and Zipporah are like, yeah, let's go.
Let's go, guys. We're gonna get across, and after we get across and watch God do cool stuff, we're gonna make
then-
a giant golden
the
cow.
Also, I'd like to give a quick disclaimer to anyone who wants to go and read the biblical story. If you haven't read the biblical story, the movie version is much more cinematic and beautiful of Moses just slamming the staff down and then just, water parts. In the Bible, Moses stands there for like 8 hours.
Moses just lifts up his
just
hand. and he's like,
preaching to the Red Sea. It's much less dramatic.
and here we see the people of Israel going through the world's first aquarium.
I made
Yep.
that joke.
I always make that joke.
I made that joke. Now, though.
Steven did get that before you, Jeb.
Well, I always make that joke.
I just didn't laugh at either time, so
Oh.
I'm not really sure who wins, but
And they're still walking through the Red Sea, looking at the aquarium.
Okay, good to know. What animals should
Jeff
we see in?
Goldblum is
That
patting
camel.
the camel.
oh, mostly
Animals
land
aren't in
animals.
aquariums. You guys are liars.
And then the pillar of fire's descending, and Ramesses is like, oh, wait. He's about to do his Voldemort yell.
Let's do it.
Can we also appreciate the Egyptians after seeing that, after the plagues, after the sea being parted? They're still like, nah, we got this. We should
let's do it,
totally
yeah.
keep pursuing this.
I mean, they
I love
got
how
behind
I'm now-
on something.
I love how I'm now going to refer to Ralph Fiennes' yell as the Voldemort yell.
yeah.
And then all the horses and men are like, wah! And now they're charging after Israel. And Moses is like, oh, crap, gotta go. And everyone's like, ah! And then the Egyptians are like, ah! And Moses is like, ah!
What I love is like every time you do a yell, your phone clips out and it just gets really quiet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Egyptians
Compressor
are like,
activates.
ah! And then, ah!
It's like,
And then,
Jeb silencer, Jeb silencer, Jeb silencer.
Yeah, that's it. It's just put a gate on his.
And then
phone.
God's like, okay, your time's up, and closes the Red Sea.
Like, oh.
And that
And then
one part.
Ramesses
It's
is
just
about to
very,
yell again.
It's just varying the
Ramses
character
just
of
got
God to-
Kamehameha'd.
He did.
I mean, look, bro, you thought you could hold back the Red Sea? You were freaking wrong. Here you go.
And then the Red Sea closes. And Moses holds a little child and it's like, are you okay?
Like, we're all aware that, like, water, like, open ocean, open sea is one of the most, like, awing, sort of just natural things in the
Phenomena.
world. Like seeing the because you have no way to control it. You cannot move it. You can't direct it. It does what it does. And to see literally the hands of God part the ocean and then just let it collapse back on itself,
Yeah.
like that is just an incredibly terrifying and awe-inspiring visual.
And it becomes the
That's
moment
pretty.
that God is remembered for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, he
And-
oftentimes references
Oh,
it.
that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Throughout the rest of the history, the God that delivered you from Egypt.
And I thought about this the other day. Like, yes, I hate that Israel disobeyed and had to wander around for 40 years.
Yeah.
But because of that wandering around, that event spread.
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
because they wandered around, the event of what God did to Egypt spread to where people were afraid of God.
Mhm.
Because to even Rahab becoming a part of the tribe of Israel,
Yep.
knowing from her faith of what God can do, and she was it was
Mhm.
her fear was of awestruck, of reverence, when everyone
Mhm.
else was just terrified to be terrified and was like,
Yeah.
this God could come after us now because we are not serving him. And they
Yep.
had 40 years to change their way and they still didn't.
Nope. They had 4 extra decades of time because the people of God decided to be stupid again immediately after being delivered.
Because
And it's like,
how far is Sinai from Jericho?
Don't ask me geography questions. I'm just going to give you a blank stare.
I heard
it's
it
a
was like
ways.
it's a ways, but not 40 years.
No.
No, it's like
No,
2
no,
weeks.
no.
I think it's like
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Like, imagine if it only happened 2 weeks. No one would have known. I mean, they would have.
No.
People would have known what happened after they, they went
Yeah.
with the conquest, but because God did it the way they did,
Mhm.
people still had, like Caspian said, 4 decades to change
Okay,
because of what.
so here they reprise the Hebrew.
Oh, wait, Josh, hold up. I got this. Now they're singing and
Gosh.
hooray and victory, and Zipporah looks at Moses as in like, your people are free now. And Moses is like,
Yep.
yeah, they are.
Like free to wander in the desert.
Hey, remember,
But-
he was a desert hick for a few years, a good 40
Mhm.
years. So he's probably like, yeah,
Yep.
he is. He's
Yeah.
free.
And then they're at Sinai, which we don't really cover the story.
No.
And then a beautiful picture of the mountain and the clouds swirling.
And the reprise of Deliver Us.
Yep,
Yeah.
Moses has the tablets, looking all Super Saiyan that he is,
4.
walking down the what?
I said that's 4.
Oh yeah,
That's 4.
walking down the mountain.
I just
looking
feel like
all
he's got a white
triumphant.
beard now or something.
What was I going to say? Oh, and also another thing to think about too is they have 40 years additionally to wander the desert, no longer slaves of Egypt, which means that's potentially an additional 2 generations of people being born.
Yep.
They
Well, it is-
multiplied
it
their
is at least
numbers
one.
exponentially.
Yeah.
So when
It
you
is
talk
at
about
least
this
one
people coming out of
generation.
Egypt and then wandering into the promised land and being able to confront as many people as they did, you have to remember that they added a lot of people in that time.
Yeah.
Stone.
Nope.
Gosh,
not
I
yet.
love
Now
Hans
it's something.
Zimmer's music when he does that. Because in The Lion King, it does that too. Like he'll do this big,
Mhm.
bombastic,
Yep.
Orchestral thing, and then close it off with the done. All right, guys. So that was Prince of Egypt. Guys, any final thoughts of the movie before we wrap things up?
I still love it. It's still one of my
Great.
favorite movies of all time.
Really, really great film.
I love this movie. And there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Hans Zimmer, a score composed. But yes, guys.
Cannot discount Steven Schwartz as the lyricist too. Phenomenal.
Yes.
Completely missed one of my notes. First time ever. I did not complete my notes. I didn't get to do my Monty Python quote at the beginning. The whole I didn't fit for you.
What a
Help,
miss.
I'm being repressed. And I had
Well,
a perfect spot
I'm
for
being
that.
repressed.
Well, that's what you get for leaving me in charge, Steven. A guy who doesn't take notes and just wing it.
Yeah, but Josh, I expected you to help police Jeb a little bit.
I mean, I don't know why you thought that. It's Jeb, dude.
To those listening, let us know if you want me to host more episodes like this, because being the co-host that I am, I deserve that right. But guys, thank you so much. I hope y'all enjoyed. I have to be careful not to do my YouTube outro, which is what I was about to do. But
Can Can we just kick him out of the meeting now?
But guys,
I mean,
we are
Yeah, I got to
just
get back
I
to
can do
Narnia
it.
now. So like,
we are just a couple of guys who like talking through movies. So guys, we hope you come back for more.
There's
Bye,
four of
guys.
us.
Bye.
There's 4 of us.
I can literally remove him right now. Watch this.
I mean, if you remove me, I'm just gonna go to.
Yeah. Perfect. That was great.
That was
Still recording.
amazing. Sorry, I got to go back into the wardrobe now. I got to get back to Narnia. So
Okay,
Oh,
well,
okay.
let's
All
see. Here we go.
There you go.
What up,
Great.
Josh?
What?
I said, what up?
What up?
What up?
Just you and me now.
Yeah.
Are you still recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll make sure I won't say anything too incriminating.
Well, you see, what I was going to do was